Hey people, what's up? So sorry it's a late one today. I know I tend to go live a bit earlier than this, and it's now approaching midnight. But the reason I'm still up and the reason I'm only now getting to go live is because I've literally just spent the last 4 days straight, practically, sorting out my accounts for my business. My accountant asked for them a month ago. I completely forgot, and she needs them so that she can obviously get them submitted and so on. And I'm pretty late with it. So I've had to spend the last 4 days straight getting them started. Getting them done. Now, in reality, not such a big deal. They've got to be done anyway. But the problem is, and the reason it took so long, which I didn't realize, is I was actually 18 months behind. Now, had I done the simple, obvious thing and maybe put aside 30 minutes at the end of each month or something like that to make sure that each month I bring the accounts up to date, I wouldn't have obviously had this problem. She would have checked them a month ago and she would have gone online onto my online accounting software and been like, oh, cool, everything's here. And she'd have been able to sort it for me. And instead, I've now lost 4 days, all because I kept putting it off, putting it off, putting it off. Now, all right, in reality, we can go, well, 4 days within the context of a whole life isn't that much. But it's 4 days where I've not been able to do any of the normal things that I would usually do. Haven't been able to go out with my family like we normally do every Thursday. Every Saturday, we like to do something as well. And my daughter and partner have gone to her mum's for the day over in Harlow. And normally I would have gone with them. But because I'm stuck here doing all this account shit, I've had to obviously sacrifice that. Now, of course, we can argue in the grand scheme of things, not a big deal. But when we look at how this sort of thing tends to play out in other areas of our lives as well, I noticed that I have also done this delay, procrastinate, forget it, leave it, in other areas too. And I see it a lot even with my clients. Now, of course, with my clients, I see it more so in health. So what tends to have happened is they've put their health off for such a long period of time that they get to this stage where it's like, holy shit, I've now got to go and I've got to do everything. And the health thing has to become this huge, massive component of their life that often feels difficult and like it's a big thing to now force in to their current lifestyle, which of course makes it feel like more of a struggle than it really needs to be. Whereas if we'd just gotten started when we first thought about it, a year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, whenever it was, whenever we knew that we needed to start working on our health, if we just get started, what we find for most people is the 80-20 rule, for example, works pretty well. But if we keep putting it off, putting it off, putting it off and delaying, what then happens is things get so bad, the 80-20 rule just isn't good enough. So instead, like with my accounts, I couldn't just do a little bit here and there. I've had to do the whole lot in one block and completely screw up my fucking week. Well, with health, it's the same. If we put it off, put it off, put it off, health gets so bad that now when we come to try and deal with it, it screws up our entire lifestyle because health has gotten so bad. It now needs such drastic measures in order to correct our body and to get us back into shape that it just completely changes everything. Whereas again, if we just done that little bit and just played around with it early on, okay, well, I'm going to start using some of my time to work on nutrition, some of my time to work on exercise, some of my time to make sure I'm doing sleep and recovery properly, and so on. If we were doing those things early on, then we wouldn't get to this point of crisis where it's like suddenly we're now so overweight, we hate our body, we're ashamed of it, disgusted by it, and completely drained of all confidence and self-esteem. Or we get to a point where, unfortunately, we've left it so long that now we have metabolic conditions such as diabetes or high cholesterol or high blood pressure and so on. Now, of course, many of you may not quite be there yet. And if you're not, I would say don't wait around to get started. Now, I know they started just talking about accounts, but when we take the same principle and apply it in other areas, we notice, oh shit, this same thing tends to play out elsewhere. If we leave things too long, it tends to lead to a bigger drama or bigger crisis than it needs to be. Same in our money game. If we know that the money game isn't where we need it to be in our lives, the longer we leave it, the harder it will be to correct. Because by the time we've left it to the point where, oh my God, there is no money and it's all stress and drama, we have less capacity to deal with it. It doesn't mean that we can't. It just means it's much harder. It feels like such a bigger task because so much of our capacity is being drained and wasted in that build-up period where we were thinking about it, putting it off, delaying it, and so on. So that's what I'll leave you guys with tonight. And of course, my question for you is simply this: where in your life do you know that you're putting off and delaying things that should be getting done now? Now, when I say should, I don't mean to go and obligate you into it, but just have a think. If you've got some things going on that you know that you probably should be getting on with, or in an ideal world, you'd be correcting them, whether it's in your health, your money game, your relationships, perhaps, have a little think about that over this weekend and look at what ways or what things you could maybe do in this coming week that could maybe start to correct the balance and move things in your favor. So you don't get to a point where crisis happens, shit hits the fan, and then you've got to completely overhaul your lifestyle overnight just to get this one little thing corrected that could probably be taken care of in a small amount of effort and time if you begin now. Thanks for watching, people. As always, any questions, drop them below. And if not, I look forward to seeing you all in my next video.